Hey folks, welcome back. Well, we got this 1994, I guess 94 and a half to be technical, F350 with a 7.3 Powerstroke. This is now a crank and no start. And if you had watched a video that I put out more towards the beginning of the week on this pickup, we did some work. This thing had a long crank before it would start. It would have had an excessively long crank. Everything seemed, after we did the work with the low pressure oil pump, cleaning the oil reservoir and all of that stuff, it was starting up pretty decent for a couple of days, and then I just kept trying it and driving it a little bit here and there, and then eventually it got back to where it was doing the long cranking. And then since this thing had been sitting around a long time with old oil and all that kind of stuff, one of the things I hadn't really ever done was remove the IPR and got it clean and reinstalled it again. And pretty much after that, we've got a crank and no start. And let me just show you what we've got going on here. I've got these parameters set up here, and you can see that, at rest our ICP or IPR is at 14.84%, injector control pressure at 0. Right now I'm going to go ahead and I've got the key on, obviously. I've got this button here just set up here on the solenoid right there, just so I can crank this. If you do this, double check, make sure you're in, this is a manual, so make sure you're in neutral with a manual, make sure it's in park with an automatic, be safe, and we'll go ahead and crank this over. Yeah, you notice that about 200 psi is about all it's producing. So that's not enough to get this thing started. You're gonna need at least, between 400 and 500, but usually right around 500. Before you do, like if you didn't have this scanner or anything like that, one of the main things you have to do is check your fuel system, make sure you're getting the proper pressure, because that was an original problem with this pickup. Is it been sitting around a long time, the mechanical fuel pump in the back was just not producing any pressure or flow of any kind. Once we got that replaced and got fuel to it, that's when we could get it to start and run, but it was a long crank before. One of the things I didn't quite notice before, even when it was cranking at that long period of time, was the ICP or the IPR percentage going up to 50%. And you don't really want it to go anywhere near. You really want it to be about 35 when trying to start. Really no more than that, because that really indicates that you've got a problem, and I should have known that before. But that's kind of why we went into, we went after the low pressure oil pump, put a new an updated design, the ones with less teeth, a bit more flow and everything like that, to get this reservoir filled up quicker and all that. But also we went and did that check valve, that was because this thing was draining back some, and so that's what we were kind of thinking was what was causing the hard start. And I thought I had it fixed, but then pretty soon it just kind of got I think basically what we have right now is we had a failing high pressure oil pump, but now that since switching the RPR or doing something like, basically now I think we've got an actual failed pump. It wasn't switching the RPR, it was removing it and cleaning it. And I have done that so many times on a lot of these, removed and cleaned those things. I don't know, hundreds of them, and never had any kind of issues like that. So either that, or we've got a big leak in the injector somewhere. So in this video, I am going to actually, we're going to find out, first of all, Is this a true reading? Because I'll link to another video down in the description where I got burned by just basically going off of this reading right here on the scanner while trying to diagnose what I had was a low pressure problem. Go watch that video to explain why and what happened with that. It's basically, I think it's I don't know, it's something, I know in the title, it's I got burned on this one, so because I did. And this one here, kind of, I did some of the easy stuff first, but I probably missed the fact that we had that really high IPR percentage, because and that indicates we have some other issue, such as a failing pump, or I always kept thinking we just weren't getting any oil to it, which is possible. So I don't really think I went the wrong way with this. This pickup's been sitting around for 4 or 5 years without running, so it could have multiple issues, and that's basically just what we're running into, I believe. So I don't think I made a mistake, and obviously didn't, it could have left if I just didn't keep it around. The customer could have took it if they wanted, and then it would have been right back to me again with the same issue. But it's not, I don't think that I made a mistake. It's just, but anyways, what we're going to do in this video is we're going to show exactly, using mechanical gauges and all that stuff, to actually prove, what is going on with, why is this thing not starting. We're going to see if this pump is actually capable, of actually producing enough pressure. It should be about 2,500, give or take, on its highest, maybe 28. It's about a 3,000 pound pump, so I would expect if this thing could at least produce anywhere from 2,300 to 2,700, you'd probably get this engine to run just good enough to drive this thing around. But anyways, we need to prove that, and we need to figure out if we've got a leak, and we'll show you how to do all that before really. One of the ways you can try to find a leak is by pulling the valve cover off and see if you can see any oil shooting out. That's probably what we got going on. Could be. Whatever it is, it's a big leak. I think it was started out smaller if it was a leak, or we've got a failing pump. But I'd like to just use this as an opportunity to check the pump and show how we're going to do that, because I got a new gauge set up and everything like that to go ahead and, what we're going to do is deadhead the pump and see if it, is capable of producing the pressure. If it is, then we'll move on to checking the leaks and all that kind of stuff. So, and I'll try to figure out a way if you're more suspecting a leak on yours or something like that, you can skip through something. But when I do this editing or whatever, I'll try to point you in the right direction. I'll skip over here to 1450, whatever, that way you can get right into checking for leaks first or something like that. But we're just going to use this opportunity to figure out, okay, is this pump, we know it's supplied with oil perfectly now. This thing is full and it's holding, so we are getting good oil up to the high pressure oil pump. We know that now, and that's one of the things you have to check out first, and that's what you can also remove this. This is your oil pressure sender here. Remove it, put a gauge in there, and see if you're getting, these gauges are set to go on and off at like, I think 7 or 10 PSI, but if you're getting, at least 10 to 15 PSI at cranking, you should be filling this up and getting good pressure to this high pressure oil pump. And that's after it goes through the oil cooler, the oil filter, and, kind of through it does a little bit. It doesn't just go straight from the low pressure oil pumps down there behind the crank pulley. It doesn't just go straight up from there. But anyways, yeah, we're going to go ahead and do all that stuff. So let's just keep on going. Okay, so the first thing we got going on here is I removed this fitting, and then we put a plug in here, and then I put a cap on this side. Not that it really needs it. I'll explain here in a second, but just as a safety thing or whatnot. I end up having a set like this around, you know, and these number 6, like this 6, you know, FJ cap or whatever, that's what is on there, and this number 6 MJ plug, that's what's on the end of the hose. And anyways, that's where this, basically this kit, you know, I don't remember where I got it from. I believe this actually came off Amazon, and it's kind of just for situations like this, or, you know, if I need to plug something off or whatnot. If you've got a newer 7.3, you're gonna have different fittings. You're gonna have them slide connect type fittings or whatever, so some of what I'm doing here is not going to be the same. If I have time, I'll get my 2002 in here and show how to hook up the gauge and everything to that. So basically what we've got going on is this hose runs and it goes to this fitting right here. So that is now capped and deadheaded off. So then this, we're gonna remove this fitting, remove this hose out of the way. We can probably, I'll probably just go ahead and cap it for safety reasons, but since this is all capped off here, what you don't want to have happen is like right now, you don't want to remove this fitting right here and have it be laying over here, but you still have, you know, it's just not, you don't want to have one side of this be open to have high pressure, you know, because you're dealing with a lot of pressure. So you want to just be conscious, be thinking about it, what you're doing, everything like that. So yeah, so we're gonna remove this fitting off of here, and then we're gonna take this fitting out of the pump, and then we've got 5,000 pound liquid filled gauge that has, I believe this is a number 6 O-ring Boss. We'll use focus camera. O-ring Boss fitting. We're gonna lube some oil on this O-ring, and then we're gonna stick this right into the pump, and that way this is deadheaded to the gauge, and then the other port is just deadheaded, capped off, so that we're not, you know, because the reason why you want to deadhead the one side of the pump is, let's say this side of the engine's got your big leak. Well, you go to put your gauge on this side of the engine, and you're not building any pressure. You know, you probably might be able to figure it out both sides, but it's best just deadhead the pump. That way you can just check it that way. So the pump's designed to do that. So anyways, we will we'll keep going. I'll get that all hooked up. Hey, here's the first fitting that's came out of here. So it was in here like this. This end being the end that's on the pump. And then sometimes when you take these out, these springs will come out. You know, they just kind of go in here like this. So you just stick them back in there. Definitely need to be in there, so whether you're checking pressure or not. So let's put that in there like so. With other than the fact that we're going to be doing it with this now. So okay, we got our hose line, you know, tied into there. This side is capped off, and then we got our gauge here. So hopefully I can get a good shot of this and see what goes on. Now that, you know, in a normal world, this gauge should pop up, you know, somewhere in this area right here within a reasonable amount of cranking. So here goes. Barely see that. It's hard to see on the camera, I think, but you can barely see this gauge. You know, obviously our first reading here at 1,000, and we're barely, based on what the scanner was saying, we're barely reading, you know, about 200. So that gauge just barely is going to lift up. So anyways, you know, this pump is not able to create the pressure that it needs to. So, okay, the next thing we need, need to actually check is make sure that this circuit for the IPR valve works. There's just a 2-wire system based on, and it sends voltage to the IPR depending on, I think full 12 volts is like fully closed, like maximum pressure. Whereas like hardly any, and I don't know exactly the numbers and all that kind of stuff. That's going to just all vary depending on, what's going on. But you want to make sure that circuit can actually, carry 12 volts. I measured it. It does have 12 volts on it with the key on, and then about 10.5 or so at cranking. So obviously it should have plenty of voltage there, but we want to make sure with a test light that it can actually carry the load, because that is a coil on that. That valve, that's kind of a solenoid magnetic linear motor type of a thing. This is the way these things work. Let me over here and kind of show you. This is a part that goes into the pump, and then this part right here is it's a linear motor basically. And as this thing is on here, and then there's a little cap and a screw to hold this on tight. Well, as this thing gets different amount of voltages, it moves the plunger in and out inside of this deal. Doesn't do this. That's not what we're talking about. Similar, but this is stationary, but the plunger's inside of here and it regulates that pressure. So that's how that's going to work. So we will get this deal unplugged and show you that. Okay, so I wasn't able to film actually doing, I just hooked in a test light to these right here, turned the key on, and the test light lit up, so we know that this circuit can carry a load. And then, you can also check the resistance on your coil there. I've got 2 others here or whatever, and this one, and all 3 of them all are right around 10.5 10.7 ohms. So that's pretty much what you're gonna run across with that. So what we're looking at here is a this defective pump. This pump just cannot produce the pressure that it needs to. And so most of the time on these things, these pumps don't fail that often, but at least not like this. This one at least would run eventually, but just got to the point where it totally quit. So the next thing I was just going to go over was doing a air test for the injectors, and that's where I've got this tool here. So we remove this plug right here. It goes right there. You see your other line right here. This one is actually this line here. I just gonna keep it capped off or whatever, so we don't lose any air pressure, out of here. You can see that that there's where this fitting was here, and then there's also this plug right here. You can also use where the you can take this ICP sensor out. This, I believe, bought these a long time ago, these adapters. Like this adapter right here is a number 5 O-ring boss to 1/4 inch pipe, and that's where we come in here, and then we can just hook up shop air to this deal, open this valve, and listen in here for leaks. And you'll want to have a ball valve on here, and I will show you why when we do this. Okay, with our shop air hooked up here, I'm going to open this valve. Don't know if you all heard that. It kind of went. And then you can pop your oil filter or oil fill cap off, and you might, if you got a big leak, you'd hear it. There's nothing hissing, nothing going on. at all. And this, we got about, I think my shop air set about 140 pounds or something like that. So it's obviously, you know, and like I said, you want to have a ball valve on here. So when you take this off, when you take this off, if you find a leak, a lot of times this won't happen, but if you do find where we don't have a leak, see what happens? Oil shooting out of there. So now we can bleed this off slowly, put a rag over the top of this, not make such a mess. But if you don't have a ball valve on there, as soon as you pull your airline off of there, it's gonna come, and it will come shooting out of there. So anyways, you can do that on both sides here. So we're gonna remove that plug right hidden underneath there. Next, check this other side. I don't suspect we have a issue, but it's not gonna hurt to check it. Okay, so we've kind of sort of misdiagnosed this a little bit, I think, because I'm actually not even 100% sure exactly how to troubleshoot these IPR valves beyond the electrical part, you know, making sure that it has the power it needs, making sure that the solenoid's good. Beyond that, I don't know exactly what. I had 2 spares here. These guys here, I don't remember what one of them was here for. I do know that one of these I had replaced in the past. It was a couple years ago, trying to diagnose a kind of a rough, you know, running issue at certain RPM. There, you know, I actually have a video on that pickup, what we ended up finding. But anyhow, I knew it should have been good. I've put both of these in there, and this thing will not build anything more than, you know, a couple hundred PSI. Put the original IPR back in this pickup, and now we're back to where I can get this thing started. It takes a little bit of cranking, but now I can get this thing started. So I'm thinking what I'm gonna do is pull this IPR back off again and take it apart, clean it, put it back together, stick it back in, and see if we get any better performance on the starting issue before I condemn the pump. I don't, because obviously now, by putting this back in here, you know, I could hook my pump up, and, you know, we're gonna get pressure and everything now, because now I can, you know, this thing will build up 1,000 or whatever, you know, I mean, right away. But it starts starting basically when you hit 500, around there, you know. So that's what we're gonna try. You know, one thing I do notice that even after I had this thing running and it shut it off, you know, the key's still on right now, and you can see the ICP pressure, the bottom one. You see how it's just holding? That's typically kind of pretty normal on a good system. But with those other 2 IPRs in there, they bled right off to about nothing right quick, even though I know that, you know, it's at 110 right now, give or take. But when before we get it almost up to about, you know, 180 to 200 PSI, I mean, as soon as you stop cranking, it would bleed right off. Right now, this has actually been sitting here for about a good 10 minutes after I've shut this thing off, and it's holding pretty good right here. It's starting to drop off a little bit more, and that's, you know, pretty much to be expected eventually. But yeah, we've got, you know, and that was, you know, we air tested both rails and everything, so both injector, all the seals, all that stuff's all good. We were just thinking that we had a pump going bad, but it's possible now that we might not be, you know. And I mean, if anybody really knows how to troubleshoot these IPRs, you know, better than just switching them out like this, I mean, let me know. I don't really know exactly. I've worked on a lot of these things, and I've had some other crank no starts and this, that, and the other, but you know, this high pressure oil system, if you keep your good clean oil and all that kind of stuff, they're usually pretty reliable. So I haven't had, too many of the high pressure oil problems per se, but I have had, my share of them. But anyways, I've replaced maybe only a couple of IPRs that actually fixed an issue, and a couple more, I've had them in and out a lot of times. I've cleaned lots of them, tons of that stuff over the years. But anyways, so that's where we're going to start. I'm going to pull this RPR back off again. Like I said, I can crank this thing, maybe we'll just go ahead and do it right now. Well, even now that we've sat here, it's starting to drop off a little bit, but it'll probably start a lot quicker than normal, but I still reckon it's going to take a while to crank. But anyways, I've got keys on, transmission in neutral. We're just going to use this button here hooked up to the solenoid over there. So here we go. All right, that's how fast it was starting for a day or two, right after we did all the repairs with the reservoir check valve and the low pressure oil pump, because of the evidence that we did see as this tank being low, and possibly we were thinking that we weren't getting enough oil into here fast enough. So anyhow, I'm thinking that this IPR, maybe now that it's been out and maybe back in or something like that, maybe it's could have dislodged itself. I mean, that's almost the fastest this thing's really ever started, was right there, and that was after sitting for about 10 minutes. Now we're just looking at the pressure dropping, about 90 or so, but I would suspect that this thing would crank right up and go again. Let's just go ahead and do it one more time and see what it does. Now, actually, I wasn't watching the IPR percentage, and I'd like to see where it goes, the regulator percentage, this next one from the bottom, just because, it went all the way to 50 when we were having issues, and even this thing would go to 50, even with this IPR valve in there before I messed with it. And so I'm gonna watch that, see what it does. Come on, camera, focus. Okay, here we go. I think I saw 46, but it was well on its way to starting before it got there, because it really only hit it for just a second, and then no, I don't even remember what it went to at idle and all that, but all that seems pretty normal. But obviously this thing's running and it sounds good, so like I said, that's what we're gonna do, is we're gonna pull that RPR valve off of there and get it cleaned. If that ends up fixing it, I will find out from the customer if they want to just leave it that way, or if we want to just go ahead and replace the RPR with a new one, which is probably the best recommended way to do it. We'll go from there. But it's like, dang, I can't believe it sucks. I don't know what to do different. I basically kind of almost misdiagnosed this thing. I know IPRs can cause no starts and everything, but I thought out of those two over there, we'd either get the same symptom or better. I mean, like I said, a lot of times these IPRs really don't. They get real, if you don't change oil very often or this, that, and the other. I mean, this thing's been sitting around a long time, so it's interesting that the IPR that's in this thing is the one that works, and the other two that I have don't. But whatever, I guess we'll just keep going, and I'll keep you in the loop and what's going on. So we'll keep going. Okay, so I want to finish up this video here, talking about, what I did, or I guess basically what happened. I mentioned earlier before that, we had the long crank before, and then when I tried one of my test IPR valves, pretty much after that I had a no crank. That's where we went through and did all the showed how to hook up an actual mechanical gauge up to different parts to test, and we're correct in the fact that it's just not producing enough pressure to start the engine. But I figured out what happened. This IPR valve is one that came out of that 94 7.3. This is one that's, I don't know what year this one, but it's at least in, if I remember, I think the only ones that I've ever done in recent times with IPRs has been like a 99 and above. By my eye, I cannot tell the difference but these two, but there is some sort of difference. I even took both of these apart. All the inner parts all look pretty similar. I don't know what the difference is, so I'm not going to be able to answer that question. But when you actually do look up the parts, even through my Napa ProLink deal, which I'm not going to get it from Napa because, for one, they want like $500 and some odd dollars for it. But the other thing is because you can get a good Ford one, right from the Ford dealership, a lot less than that. But by looking up the parts, there is definitely from the 1994 to early 1995 has a one part number, and then 95 and a half on up to 2003 is the other part number. So there is some sort of difference. What it is, I don't know, because I ended up putting the original IPR back in that pickup, and then boom, we still had our long crank, but we had it finally started and ran. So I don't think we got a bad pump. But I then took the IPR back out of it, cleaned it, took it apart, cleaned it, and then reinstalled it back in that pickup, the 94, and was hoping that, we'd get something different. We do have a different symptom now. It's still a long crank, but it's not quite as long. But we also, when you rev the, and I took it around and drove it, you got to get all the air out of the system, this, that, and the other. Took it out and drove it, and then what happens is you rev the engine up, everything seems fine, and then when you let it go, when it gets down almost to idle, it kind of goes, and then it stabilizes, and then it might do it towards the top end too. As far as driving it goes, you don't really notice anything. So I'm still thinking we probably have a defective IPR valve there. So basically what I'm going to do is get that ordered and get it coming. And I'm not going to put it on this video. I'll just make a update video on it when I get the part and get it installed and everything like that, to figure out where we're going to go with that, because pretty much we've pretty much narrowed down this issue as being it's not a leak in any injector seals, and it's not and we're getting plenty of oil supplied to the high pressure oil pump. It's either the pump or the IPR valve. We know the ICP sensors is doing its job, and so that's basically what we're running into with that. I just wanted to finish this video up knowing, because I didn't know at the time. I thought maybe switching the IPRs and doing all that just something, that pump finally failed or something like that. There's not really anything you can screw up, I guess. I guess you can by switching these things out, but obviously like I said, you can look at these two and even take them apart. I can't tell the difference, but there is some sort of difference, whether it's the inner workings inside, the tolerances, this, that, and the other, maybe the little itty bitty tiny pins, or I really don't know. If somebody does know, that'd be awesome. Write it down in the comments and let everybody else know what might be the difference. But apparently I must not have really ever worked on this old of a Powerstroke that I remember, or I just didn't catch it even when I ordered a part, whether it might not even been an IPR that I didn't have an issue with or something. Probably just never had this type of an issue with a 94 or an early 95, so I really didn't know. I thought these things were all the same because they've all looked the same. I even pulled out the other IPR and I looked at this and I go, oh, well, yeah, there is no change, but I was wrong. There is. So just another bit of info when you're looking for parts. Make sure that, you know, if you know, basically, like, I'm gonna probably keep a hold of this IPR, you know, and just put it in a bag and mark it, you know, 94. That way, in case I may ever possibly use it as a test one again in the future, at least I don't do the same thing I did again with putting one from a newer pickup in there, because it's not going to work. Anyways, so hopefully this video helped you out doing something. If not, I'm sorry for wasting your time, but thanks for watching nonetheless.